Good evening and welcome to another in our TalkSports program. I am Michael Bascom, your host, and our program this evening coming live from Brooklyn in New York, and we'll be talking to Mr. Marcus Trevor McIntosh all about football on the island of Carriacou, the development of football, I should say, on the island of Carriacou, as well as the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation, and all about his plans to expand the foundation to other parts of the Caribbean. I want to welcome Mr. McIntosh, that's Mr. Marcus Trevor McIntosh, to our program and say good evening to you, Mr. McIntosh. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Michael, and good evening to all the viewers and listeners, and especially coming from my wonderful island of Carriacou.
Okay, and it's a pleasure having you, and no doubt, and I think you, as you indicated, not just the beautiful island of Carriacou, but Mount Pleasant, to be exact, I think.
Absolutely, where
Okay.
I grew up as a young boy before I went to England.
Right, okay. Okay, let's get going. Let's talk all about what's happening regarding it's basically a twofold, the Hillsborough Town Football Club, and also the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation. First of all, let's go directly to what's happening regarding the Hillsborough Town Football FC, Hillsborough Town Football Club, and why you decided to start such a football club on the island of Carriacou.
Well, it all started about 5 years ago when myself and a friend of mine was sitting on the beach in Grenada. And we said to ourselves, we've just come out from watching the Waggy Tea tournament with all the various clubs in Grenada. But we realized to ourselves there's no club from Carriacou taking part in the Waggy Tea tournament or even the GFA League. So we thought about it amongst the two of us. And but that was 5 years ago. We said to ourselves, where are we going to get the same like-minded people to really think about the same dreams and vision that we wanted to create this club? I came back to Carriacou, sat down in Carriacou for a while, and during that time, I sat down with some guys and local guys, and we formed the Carriacou and Pitimartinic Football Association, where there can be a representative from Carriacou sitting on the executive board, so that Grenada now can look after the needs of Carriacou, and Carriacou FA can look after the needs of what is meant to be in Carriacou. So during that period of time, the FA in Carriacou started up a league, a little mini league. Whilst the league was running, there was a few gentlemen that were on the island from the UK who are part of Carriacou descent. Some of them was even born here. They also saw the need of a team to be participating in the league in Grenada. So they approached me about the matter. And then between us, we decided, right, we're going to go for it and form this club called Hillsborough Town FC. As you know, Hillsborough is the town of Carriacou, the main hub of everything that functions in Carriacou. So hence the name of the club was born.
Oh, well, very interesting indeed. And I guess as much it has taken off, and you're satisfied so far with what is happening regarding the HTFC.
Yeah, so we decided all of a sudden, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. So we decided to have proper club structure from the top, from the chairman who go all the way down to, the physio, down to the kit manager, the equipment manager, and just to create proper structure within the club so that, you know, later on, our main vision is eventually one day win the Premier League in Grenada, and then later go and play in the Champions League in the Caribbean. That's our main focus.
Okay, but how do you hope to get Carriacouians to buy into the idea of having what you call a home-based football club? I mean, it's something pretty new for the folks in Carriacou, I assume, in terms of the vision, your prospect in terms of participating in the GFA leagues, for example, participating in the Champions League in the Caribbean, for example. I mean, it's some big ideas for now. How do you hope that Carriacouians can buy into that idea of having a Hillsborough Town FC?
Well, I was always, from the age of 15, a gentleman always said to me, always remember, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. So that's always been my motto from since I was a young kid. Buying into the vision of what we're doing. Yes, it's never achieved, never been done before. Yes, we've tried in many times in the Pure Grenada Cup. So that was a test of how we could see a team actually going down, back and forth to Grenada and in Carriacou. And during the Pure Grenada Cup, we had a trial run of what football will be like in Carriacou if a team from Grenada was to come up to play in Carriacou. And I've got to say, the reception we had that day was fantastic. We didn't win the game, but the crowd and the community, they all turned out to watch the game. And that's when I realized to myself that this can actually work. But we all have to buy into what is the main vision of what HTFC is. So what we decided to do was set the club up in such a way that not only the people in Carriacou can benefit from the club, but also the people in the diaspora can benefit and follow HTFC. So during the last several months, that is what myself and the executive board of HTFC have been working on. How can we get the community of Carriacou and the communities abroad could follow HTFC? And I must say, so far, the reception that we've been getting from various people in the diaspora and the people in Carriacou, they all think it's a fantastic idea.
Okay. The word fantastic and the words fantastic idea tend to always be the initial response. But Trevor, you know, sometimes, you know, we have a problem in building on those ideas.
I always say to myself, put it there and people will follow.
Well, yeah, but that's true. But all the challenges have been faced now, and we have the COVID and what have you in terms of
yes,
and even finances and all these things. So my question to you is, how do you realistically hoping to achieve those goals?
What, the traveling arrangements?
Yes,
or the people following the club.
Well, both, because all these are challenges.
Right.
Having the travel, having the travel, the accommodation, people buying into the idea, people following, everything about it.
Right. We're very lucky that within the executive board of HTFC, there are some very astute businessmen within the executive board. And more people from outside of the executive board are coming into what we're selling to them. The traveling down in wise of transportation, that's already been taken care of. Accommodation, that's already been taken care of. Because we were so lucky to get some really good partners on board, such as Hartman Group, Mount Pure Water, Massa, Incognito Adventures, and there are a lot more that are going to come on board to follow the club and to make sure that this becomes a success. Because it's not just only me that sees the vision and the executive board that sees the vision, is the entire I wouldn't say the entire diaspora, but various people within the diaspora can see the vision of what we're trying to do, especially the people who really love their football. You see, Carriacou is a unique place. There are a family of people that no matter what it is, they will come out and support what you're doing, especially if you do it correctly.
Okay. Well, I have been around for quite a while and I've heard all these things before. So, I mean, all I want to do is wish you all the best. And in any way I can support, I will support, because I think Carriacou deserves. And you have been on island for a while, and obviously you would have experienced and you would have seen the talents, and you know that there is a void for organized sports in Carriacou.
There is so much young talent within Carriacou that I watch these young kids play, whether it be cricket, whether it be athletics, whether it be football or any sport, tennis, boxing, you name it. We have the talent in Carriacou. All that these young children need is the platform for them to go out and perform. That is all they need, And once the platform's created, and this is why we created HTFC, so that our young footballers on Carriacou can get the opportunity to travel down to Grenada and to show the national coaches in Grenada that they're actually good enough to participate in the league and even on the international front.
Okay. Yes, I want to get some timelines from you, some timelines as to how you hope to achieve some of those objectives. Your timeline regarding affiliate to the GFA, for example. I know you might have probably 2021, 22 as possible timelines to get certain things done, but what are the realistic timelines you have in mind, starting with probably the affiliation to the GFA and going forward?
We started the process for the affiliation to the GFA from since last year. You see, COVID in some people's eyes has been bad, but in my eyes, COVID has been very, very good to us, or to me personally, because it's helped us to put the relevant structures in place with the people with the executives at the GFA and the executives at the Carriacou and Pity Martinique Football Association. So they see what we're doing, and for the executives in Carriacou and Pity Martinique FA and the GFA, they also see it as a fantastic initiative. So by us getting registered and later on becoming affiliated to the GFA, I don't see that being a problem.
Okay, right. And just for folks who are in the HTFC, is the Hillsborough Town Football Club in terms of its correct name. So that is one aspect of it in terms of the affiliation, Trevor. But
yes.
But in going forward, what are some of the other aspects you hope in terms of participation, in not just in the GFA leagues, but you have the bigger option of probably the HTFC participating in the Champions League in the Caribbean as well?
Absolutely. We structured the club in such a way that we give ourselves a timeline of 5 years to achieve what we want to achieve. So this is not a club that wants to achieve something all in 1 year. Our main focus is to get into the GFA League. We have to start off in a conference. Which one as yet, we don't know, but it'd probably be the Central Conference, which I can't confirm as yet. But once we've got into the league, that is our main ambition for this for the 21-22 season. Yes, we could say we can want to go out and win that league in the first year to get into the Premier League, but we've got to be realistic and say to ourselves, it's all about consolidation within the first year, within the first season.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, Trevor, what you hoping to achieve regarding football and football development in Carriacou?
Right now, we have some, as I said before, we got some really good young players. You know, at school level, they go down to Grenada and they perform very well. What we don't have is the structure for, right now, there's an under-15s tournament going on in Grenada. There's an under-19s going on in Grenada. We here in Carriacou cannot participate in these tournaments. So hopefully, through HTFC...
And why?
The main challenge, why it cannot be achieved here, is finance. Finance plays a massive part because we've got to realize that we're separated by water. And to travel back and forth to Grenada works out very, very expensive indeed. But through HTFC, we will be able to send down an under-15s team to play and to participate in Grenada. We can send down an under-19s team to participate in Grenada because of the financial structure that we have put in place.
Okay. I want us to look at the structure of the HTFC as it is, and you have it as the which was established last year as an independent football club, and the structure as it is: a president, vice president, chairperson, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, managing director, public relations officer, academy officer, child protection officer, player representative, and head coach. Let's talk about why such a structure, why you see such a structure is needed.
Well, if you look at certain things that's happening within football now and the way that FIFA is going about things, they're looking for football clubs, even at our level, to have these structures in place. Because if we don't have these structures in place, it in a way, it hinders our development within the game. So it's all about having the right structure in order to get club licensing. Club licensing is very, very vital if you are to move forward as a football club. Right now, not a lot of clubs within Grenada have this structure. And I could honestly tell you, all the departments that you have just read out are filled. There's people for all those departments operating already.
Oh, so HTFC is fully operational. Are you saying that?
Working already, Michael. There's foot on the ground. We have people who are already on the executive board, on the marketing department, within the media department. We're about to launch our website and media, social media pages. Hopefully by the end of the next week, we're looking to set up an online shop to sell all our merchandises. Even a YouTube channel we're looking to set up. Because at the end of the day, people who live abroad, they want to see football. They want to see what we're going to produce at HTFC. And if I say to you right now that we've almost sold near enough 50 to 60 odd shirts, I'm wearing one of them. which is actually the home. This is actually the home uniform, the first strip for the HTFC.
Okay, well, congratulations on that, Trevor. And what is your direct role, by the way, with the HTFC?
I'm the managing director of HTFC.
Who are the other people you wish to call their names of the other people that are involved with the HTFC?
Within this structure, we've got the chairman of HTFC is is a gentleman who is from Carriacou. He is from the Adams family in Carriacou, and his name is Davis Adams. The vice chairwoman is a lady called Cindy Ann Walcott, Lewis Walcott. The president is Andrew Stott, and the vice president is Marlon Smith. I am the managing director. The other names, the secretary is Scott Wilkes, and the treasurer is a very, very, I could say, experienced accountant who is, God, he will kill me at the moment because I misplaced his name.
You probably get it. And I guess as much as quite a lot to remember for now.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And you have a head coach as well?
Yes, we have a head coach, but right now I can't tell you who the head coach is because that is going to be an absolute surprise.
Oh, okay. In terms of the actual head coach.
Yes.
So
yes.
you're not performing the role as head coach, though?
No, I won't be performing the role of head coach. I would leave that for someone else to perform because I will not be able to do my job and the head coach job.
Okay. All right.
It takes in too much time.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. And I guess as much it all has to do with the structure, because I know that one of the things that have plagued sports in Grenada, especially football, is that the coach is everything, even the rep at council,
Yes, I won't be doing that.
Yeah.
We've even got our own representative who will be stationed in Grenada, and he's also the representative for the players.
Oh, the players rep. Okay, because
his name is Amelka George.
Okay, you do have a players representative also.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. As part of your structure. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see so he's a president, a vice president, chairperson, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, managing director, public relations officer, academy officer, child protection officer, player rep, and a head coach. What's about the academy officer and the child protection officer?
They are roles that are filled, but I can't tell you who they are at present because that's also a surprise.
Okay. How often do you meet? In terms of, well, and I'm asking that now because I know not many organizations have been meeting face to face, but they still try to meet as often as possible.
We as HTFC, as executive members, the majority of executive members are based in the UK. There's two of us that are in Carriacou, along with the HTFC personal secretary, whose name is Martisha Simon, are living in Carriacou. We go out as far as executives. We go out as far as Canada, even as far as Australia. And we meet we will have a meeting sometimes twice a month or once a month.
Okay. For those who may be questioning, for those who may be wondering, even with the accent, Trevor, give us a little background of the Trevor McIntosh we are speaking to. Those who involved in sports and particularly football, we remember Trevor McIntosh as the technical director of the
Yes.
Grenada Football Association a few years ago. But there are those who may not have recognized, those who may not have known you before. So tell us something about Marcus Trevor McIntosh.
Where do I start? I was born in London, came to Carriacou very, very young, a couple months old, and grew up in Mount Pleasant, Carriacou, and went to school in Carriacou. My recollection of leaving Carriacou to go to the UK, I must have been about 6 or 7 and went back to the UK. Within that time, I went to school, played all different sports in the UK because I wanted to learn so many, because in the Caribbean, especially growing up in Carriacou, the only sport I really saw was athletics to a certain degree and cricket mostly. So when I arrived in England, I saw all these different sports, and my parents would tell you I wanted to play every single one of them. If it was for rugby for the school, I was there. If it was football for the school, I was there. Athletics for the school, which was my main sport before I became involved in football. Hockey, I was there. And I just developed this attitude that whatever sport you play, you must be good at. And I loved it. I loved training. I loved everything about sports. I got into football and played at the highest level that I could play, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And after I stopped playing football, I decided, right, I'm going to go into coaching. I eventually achieved my coaching badges and went out to places like Cuba, places like Chile, places like Peru, went out to Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, and then eventually made my way back to Grenada as the technical director. And now I'm in Carriacou, still involved in sports and putting stuff together.
Mm-hmm. Well, but you said you're born in the UK, but
yes,
you do have Grenadian, direct Grenadian connection.
Yes, my mother and father were born in Carriacou. My surname McIntosh is from this part of the island, which is Mount Pleasant. On my mother's side, I'm a Fleury that come from Pitcairn. And there are two quite prominent names on the island, I must say, which I'm quite privileged to carry both of them.
Okay. All right. Well, despite the accent, you're home.
Yes.
You're home.
I must admit, sometimes when I'm having a conversation, I normally some people can say to me, "Oh, I can hear some Australian in there." It slips out every now. Every now and then.
And that is because of your connection in Australia.
Yes,
Sydney.
yes.
Which part of Australia? Sydney?
Sydney. And Sydney and Melbourne. I had to work between Sydney and Melbourne quite often for the FA out there.
Okay. Let's move on to another issue as it relates to your involvement, which has to do with the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation. And you have mentioned that your interest in the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation is also to expand it to other Caribbean islands. But before the expansion, tell us more about this Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation.
Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation started by when I left the GFA. I was offered some other jobs abroad, but various people said to me, "What are you going to actually do? You cannot leave and just go somewhere else when there's so much work to be done in Grenada and in Carriacou, especially Carriacou." I remember sitting down with Jason and Andre Patterson at the Jason Roberts Foundation, where I was helping them out for various numbers of months. And I realized that they weren't getting up to Carriacou as much as they can. So I was coaching at Jason and Andre's foundation, and the idea came to me of starting a foundation in Carriacou to help the young children in Carriacou, along with another colleague of mine whose son I was coaching at the time, whose name is Dawn Dakota. And we decided to form this organization along with Glenn James, Sheldon Alexander, Richard Ramdani, and a few others. And that's what we did. Out of that became the birth of Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation, which the main idea of it is been having it based in Carriacou, so it can look after the needs of children in Carriacou and in Petite Martinique especially, to help them with structure within sports, and not only that, to help them also to get an education. That's to show them that sports and education go hand in hand. We started this foundation 5 years ago, and I could honestly say to you, within that period of time, we are now starting to reap the benefits. And the benefits are, we started up a football academy, we've started an athletics academy, we've also helped the Boxing Association in Carriacou, we've helped the Tennis Association in Carriacou, we've also supplied all the various primary schools with equipment in Carriacou. And not only that, I must say to you that during the time of COVID, we were able to, when we came out of lockdown, we were able to train our athletes, although we started before COVID, but we were able to carry on training our athletes through one-on-one and social distancing, because to me, that was the only sport that we could do social distancing. And through that, one of our top athletes in Carriacou, who runs the 100 and 200 meters, whose name is Zane McFarlane, obtained a 3-year scholarship in Jamaica. That was the start of the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation. On the educational side, we had to help him a great deal, because not every kid is going to be a straight A student. He then realized to himself that education is vital for him to later on progress in his venture of becoming a top athlete in the world. So he was our first athlete that went out to Jamaica. After that, 3 more athletes followed on their route to Jamaica: Asharoino, Jamora Alves, and Avanella Andrew. Later on this year, we would have another athlete going to take up a 3-year scholarship in Jamaica, whose name is DeAndre Bristol. So through the foundation, we're doing very well. We had to stop the young children grassroots program that we were doing because of COVID. But hopefully soon, in the near future, we'll be able to start up the program again with the young children.
Okay. So you're basically saying that there are folks who are actually benefiting from the program being administered by the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation. You use Zaid as probably a most recent example. Are there others who have benefited from the program?
Through the program, we managed to set up classroom sessions for children. Because as I said before, not every young child, what could I say, develop at the same time. So I go into the schools and introduce myself to the school principals and the teachers. And one school in particular is Leicester School, which is quite near to where we run the program, which is at the Lauriston Mini Stadium. And of course, I go down to Mount Pleasant School. So between those two schools and other young children now within the Carriacou now are now started coming to our program. So as far out as Dover and Harvey Vale and various districts, they were now starting to come to the program because their friends were telling them about the program and the benefits of what we were doing. And to me, that is an achievement to see where we started off to the numbers that we were getting. We were averaging nearly 40 odd kids. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. And as you mentioned, that there are those who, in particular,
because even through that, Michael, we have been running a 5-a-side tournament every year, apart from last year.
And you're talking about through the foundation.
Through the foundation.
Right.
Yes, we started a 5-a-side tournament, and which all the children in Carriacou can come and play in this 5-a-side tournament. We have teams coming over from Union Island to participate, and also teams from Grenada come up to participate. Last year, there were teams coming from Barbados, from Trinidad, and as far as Saint Lucia, there were teams coming over to play last year's tournament. But due to COVID, we had to cancel. And we also was going to take a young team either to Barbados and to Trinidad to participate in a tournament.
Okay, well, that's very, very interesting to know. Mike, I should say Marcus, I wanted to say, but there are a couple of things I want us to talk about. And before we go on to one, which has to do with more on a regional scale regarding football.
Yeah.
For those who were wondering, because you may not have spoken quite a bit after your exit from the Grenada Football Association, you didn't say much except when you probably gave the reason at that time why you parted ways. But are there any regrets from you, Trevor, regarding your exit from football on the bigger scale in Grenada? When you left the GFA, what were the terms basically that you left? What were the issues that you found it difficult to continue as TD? What were the issues?
You really want to know?
Yes, we want to know.
I guess that Grenada football on a whole was not ready for Marcus Trevor McIntosh and the ideas of what he brought to the table for the Grenada Football Association. Because don't forget, I've come from a professional background where in Australia and various parts of the world, there's a certain way in which we work and which we achieve stuff. And I found that when I was working at the FA, certain things that I was trying to implement wasn't going anywhere. So it was either they didn't see my vision or I didn't see their vision. So I decided to part ways. Yes, acrimoniously, someone said that I left due to a poor evaluation of my work. But I guess that's their own personal, we all have our own personal ideas on how someone should work and in how it must run.
Okay.
So,
but were you surprised when, since after your departure, there was so much infighting going on among members? Were you really surprised about that, or is something?
No, I was not surprised because that was going on whilst I was there. So hence, you can't do your work properly. And not until that people realize themselves that football is bigger than their own personal egos, then the FA in Grenada and various other FAs around the Caribbean will function properly. Because at the end of the day, we're just here on earth for a short time. Football will always continue. It will always continue. It was there before us. Football started way 18 something. We're in 2021. And until certain people realize these things and work together so that the development of football can grow within our own islands, then we will see proper development and structure within football within our islands.
Yeah. We may come back to it.
At the end of the day, you know, you look at certain things. People ask me, why isn't football, or why aren't we producing the players that we used to produce before?
I was about to ask you about this in terms of your statement you made about a week or two ago regarding the quality of players. The Caribbean in particular, and you can probably start. You can probably start with Grenada, because Grenada at one point in time had good players. So the question will be asked, why it is that Grenada and the Caribbean are not producing quality players, and quality in the sense of what we know of probably about a decade or two ago, the likes of the Dwight York and the Shaka Hislop and and the Latapi and others. Even in Grenada, we had the Steve Mark, and others that you may have heard of. Why are we not producing quality players? Do you think also it has to do with a lack of sound and effective leadership?
I will honestly say, from my point of view, from what I've seen, and I've been here now for 5 years, and I've been coming back and forth for several years. The players that I saw Grenada produce back from when I first started coming to Grenada, my biggest disappointment was that I never got to play with these guys when I was playing. That's my biggest disappointment. There are young players within the system that when I was the technical director, I saw that these guys had great ability. But what they were lacking was technical ability and the education of what football is really about. That was what they were lacking at the time. The generation now, I am still waiting to see within Grenada where this outstanding player is going to come from within this grassroots programs that everyone's running. I don't want to say that because FIFA is giving us a lot of money now to run football within our islands. Whereas years ago, people never received such amounts of money, because I think back then people were a lot more passionate in how they wanted to play the game. And plus, coaches back then would have given up their time more without looking for a little stipend. They did it because they wanted to do it. Now, before you even get onto the pitch, some coaches want money. Everybody wants for parents to be paying out money. But when they pay out the money, what are the parents getting back in return? We have to look at all these things into the development of the game. When you come to the development game in Carriacou, parents don't pay to bring their kids to our programs. And I could honestly say certain children within our program is developing. So is it down to coaching education? Because when FIFA puts on these programs for our coaches, why do they have to ask themselves, why are they going to a FIFA coaching program? Is it just to get the tracksuit, or is it just to get the accreditation of saying, yes, I went to a FIFA coaching? Or are you really going there to wanting to obtain a license so that you later can go on and coach at grassroots level and then take your coaching levels and your license further up in or do you want to make it a career? And these are the things that we got to be asking ourselves.
Okay. And so until such time, you're concerned that if we do not deal with these issues, that when it comes to national teams and representation, participating in international tournaments, Grenada and other Caribbean islands, in terms of their national teams, will have to depend a lot on the foreign
overseas players.
Yeah, the UK, especially the UK.
And that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. That is what is happening. That we are now, as Caribbean nations, depending so heavily on overseas players because we want to get up the FIFA rankings. We want to get into Gold Cups. We want to get to World Cups. But it's like if we're forgetting that we also at the same time have to develop our local based players, especially in Grenada. If you do not have a proper functional Premier League within your island to produce players at a level of competitiveness, you won't be producing the next generation of players. When I came to Grenada as the technical director, I saw so many loopholes within our structure as a nation that loves football. Now, I was very surprised to see the amount of teams within a small island participating in a league. You know, some of them are not really even teams because it's too much teams. So in order for us to get proper competitiveness, we have to somehow find a way of creating a proper structured Premier League so all our top players can be playing in. And maybe we may have to franchise our league so that we could attract sponsors, you know, so that the FA can then concentrate on teams in the lower divisions to then, you know, create that that structure for them to get into a top Premier League. It's no, you know, yes, in England, there are teams who come up and they yo-yo up and down between the Premier League and the Championship. But that's professional. They're still getting money. They're still producing good players. Where later on the top teams will eventually, where the players will eventually end up. But where do our top players go to play their football? Grenada should at least by now have a semi-professional league, which we haven't.
Yeah, I heard talk about it. Well, there was plans, there were attempts to run, you know, a semi-professional league some years ago. But I think it boils down to two factors I always consider. One has to do with finance, and two,
yes,
it has to do with the entire structure of football in Grenada. If I may just get some comments there, because the Kyron Batiste is saying Marcus is making a very strong point here. We are on the decline when it comes to producing quality players, for sure. And the thing is, we have opportunities and so many resources to produce quality players. That's the sad part of it. And Lincoln Deputy is saying too much football that seems to be largely aimed at reporting to FIFA that your country is running X number of programs. And I think
absolutely true.
You have been making that point where you don't think in the Caribbean we have we have control, and as Deputy is saying, it's all about reporting to FIFA and saying we're doing this, we're doing that, and we're doing this program, we're doing that program.
But we can report we're doing these programs, but how many of them are sustainable?
Yeah, but not just reporting, but he's saying that the emphasis seems to be always on reporting. and not really on doing things
Absolutely.
that really benefit
Absolutely
the players.
True. You know, we can all go around and says, yes, we did a grassroots program. 400 kids turn up, 1,000 kids turn up. But how many out of that 1,000 kids are going to be making their way out to Europe or to South America or to America? Not many.
But in the interim, in terms of development and in terms of the leagues you're talking about, only probably Trinidad and Jamaica that may probably have what we consider professional leagues.
Absolutely.
And Trinidad considers it more as a semi league, but the pro league in Trinidad and then in Jamaica. So how do you hope the other islands, how do you see the other islands catching up to the likes of Jamaica and Trinidad?
In terms of catching up to Jamaica and Trinidad, we can't catch up with them because their population is so big. It's a lot more people live on these islands. But what we can actually try to do is structure our football on our islands a lot better. You know, there are still top teams in Grenada still playing in local parks where they cannot even get a gate receipt coming through their gates, where they still have to depend on the GFA for a football or some cones, which I found it absolutely deplorable that they have to rely on the GFA, that if they themselves as clubs structure themselves in such a proper way, they shouldn't have to be always running to the GFA to be handing out them footballs. The GFA should be just handing footballs out to their grassroots program.
Okay. Let me see now. Small countries in developing nations must sit down with FIFA and lobby for structures tailor-made for their countries. FIFA has a one-size-fits-all structure, but a structure that works for Germany and Brazil most likely wouldn't work for Grenada, Carriacou, or even Burkina Faso.
He's speaking the truth. And I honestly believe that all of us within the Caribbean structure, you've got a CFU union, the Caribbean Football Union, which is just sitting there, right? It is up to all of us within the Caribbean to all work together and share ideas in developing our sport, our football in our islands, and not for FIFA and CONCACAF to be dictating to us on how we should be running our football. You know, okay. You look at Africa. Mm-hmm. Africa has found a way of all uniting together. Yes, they have their problems within their FA, but one thing they do, they learn how together works better than separately. And they do it very, very well when it comes to exporting their players to Europe. Because they know that when these players arrive back in Africa to their countries, they don't see it as Michael Bascom is coming back to Ghana. No, Michael Bascom is coming back to Africa.
Yeah.
And we need to do the same within the Caribbean with the way we go about stuff. Don't turn around and say, oh, Jamaica is by itself, Trinidad is by itself. No, we must all unite together so that this wonderful game and this beautiful game of football can get to the levels which when we really think about it, really, we have still some wonderful football players within our islands. We just got to learn how to structure what we are doing in the terms of grassroots development in order for them to get out to places in Europe and places in America. Yes, England's very difficult to get into. We all know that. But if you look at the African players, they're going to Europe, and then later on, where they get into? To the Premier League.
But at the same time, Marcus, is that it was probably about 10 years ago, or even, most probably less than that. We had a number of Caribbean players playing in the English leagues, And I'm
Absolutely.
talking about Caribbean-born players playing in the English leagues. Are you saying it's getting more difficult, or is it that we're not producing quality players to get into the league, even at a lower division?
That point, as you rightly said, we're not. I don't think we are producing those players, because if we were producing those players, they will be playing in our national teams. The scouts will be looking for these players to take to their clubs. But we're not. We're not producing them.
Someone says, Dwayne says, he has some very good ideas for football here in Grenada. It's just some clubs that not seeing the vision.
That's true.
Well, yeah, but he says clubs. I want to correct that too, because I think the point I always making, we have more teams than clubs.
Yes.
And because we do not have clubs and just teams with just a coach and players, this way we have some of the problems, and probably what the person is saying in terms of the vision. If you just have teams, then you may not have that vision, because all the concern is about playing,
Yes, because you look at our top clubs. Well, you got Paradise, you got Hurricane, you got St. John's Sports, you got Hard Rock, you got various others. Where is their development of their game in helping the FA? The FA itself needs to be saying, right, our top teams within our island needs to be playing in our top division in enclosed grounds. We don't have that. We don't have it. How on earth could Paradise win the league and still, when they go to play in the Champions League, be out of pocket? Or Hard Rock be out of pocket? It amazes me. That's because they don't have the right proper structure within their executive boards.
Well, fair point.
Yes. And they may say yes, but I always believe that when you speak the truth, you're always going to have enemies.
Okay, and I assume that is what you're hoping to achieve and fill the void at the Hillsborough Town FC in Carriacou, ensuring that there's a proper structure.
Yes, and I really hope that some of these teams and clubs look at our model and ring me up and says, can we share that model with you guys? I'll gladly share it with them. Because we all want the development of football to benefit everyone, from senior level, go right down to grassroots level, from women's football, from whatever. We want it all to grow within our island and throughout the Caribbean. We want to see our islands producing the top players and being recognized and saying, yes, I remember him when he was 15, 6, when he was 8 years of age. We have these talents within our islands.
But isn't it what the GFA has been requesting of its affiliates regarding the club licensing and showing that they have a proper structure?
I could honestly say that the FA have been trying their best to put in the club licensing. But a lot of these clubs have to recognize what it takes to have club licensing and actually restructure their executive boards. As you say, you got the manager being the secretary, the head coach being the physio, the head coach washing the uniforms, this one doing it. It don't work like that anymore. There are teams in England in the Sunday morning league that are better structured than some of our clubs that we call clubs in Grenada. Because even on a Sunday morning football league in England, you've got to have club structure.
Club structure, yeah. Just a final point here. Kyron Batiste is saying invest in a solid 10-year plan in order to get us back on track and get us going again in terms of producing quality players. I assume it takes time, and as Kyron is saying, probably a 10-year plan. I know yours is not 10 years, but there's something that you're doing in Carriacou. And Marcus, I want to wish you all the best.
We could all sit down. We could all sit down and write plans. We could write 10-year plans, but it's what you put in the plan. And then at the end of the day, it's how you implement the plan. Right now, we have 5 years plan. We have 10-year plans. I see the GFA have all these plans, but then it's how do you go about it, implementing those plans?
Yeah.
To make it work.
I agree.
And at the end of the day, employing the right people to make it work.
Yeah, because it's all well and good to have strategic plans on paper, and it's probably the easiest thing to do, but is implementing it and ensuring that the plans do work. Thank you very much. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, because you think about it. There are young children within Carriacou, right? You ask any of them, have they seen the national team play in Grenada? They'll tell you no. They will tell you no, and there's many times I've always said to the FA, do me a favor, get your national men's team, the senior men's national team, that when you are training, please come to Carriacou, because we've got some wonderful facilities in Carriacou that you can, and hotels, that you can send up the national team so that our young children could see a training session and fit. I'll tell you what, Michael, they will pack the stadium just to watch our senior men's national team play. That's development.
Yeah. Quite a lot to discuss. Sorry, don't have all the time, because I still wanted to hear from you what you think could be coming out of. We still have the CONCACAF Gold Cup and probably the World Cup qualifiers in terms of Caribbean qualifiers. Who you think can make it?
We could save that for another further interview. And I'm proudly wearing the HTFC uniform, Hillsborough Town.
Hillsborough Town.
Yes.
By the way, just before
By the way,
tell me.
Do you know what that bird is?
Well, is it an ibis?
No.
Is that the ibis?
That bird is called a booby.
A booby.
You see them quite often flying around the shores of Grenada and Carriacou, following the boats and the fish. Oh. So we as HTFC, we've adopted the booby as our mascot and our emblem on our logo to create awareness of this wonderful and beautiful bird.
Okay, that's probably a scientific name, the booby. Thank you very much, Marcus. And as you say, we probably can do it sometime again, where we're probably speaking more about football. But I want to wish you all the best with the Hillsborough Town FC and also the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation. And for folks who wondering how they can assist, obviously you can get in touch with Marcus. If you need his number, I can also share it with you. But
yes, please. Or if they want to contact me, yes, they can come through you. Or look out very shortly for Hillsborough Town Facebook page, social media pages, and we'll be launching everything hopefully by the end of next week.
Okay,
so you can follow the club and keep in contact with the club. Yes, if there is other people out there who are in the diaspora from Carriacou who wants to get involved, and feel free to contact yourself and then come through to see me. I'm looking forward for people in Carriacou to follow the club.
Okay,
HTFC.
That's fair enough. So as he says, they should have a social media presence within the next week or two, and you can follow, you can provide any assistance that's needed. I want to thank you again, Marcus.
And you could also purchase your uniforms online at the end of the month.
Okay, well, that will also be on social media. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully I will send you a shirt in the post.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay then. So folks, that's Marcus Trevor McIntosh. He's the former technical director of the Grenada Football Association, but he's now the managing director of Hillsborough Town FC, and he's also a founder of the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation. And the invitation, we will join us sometime again in the future to be part of our program. And I want to wish him all the best, because I know what he's doing is very important in terms of the development of sports, not just football, but sports in Carriacou, because the Grenada Sports and Wellbeing Foundation, and as he mentioned, there are athletes, there are boxers who are also benefiting from the initiative. I want to thank you folks, because just to let you know that coming up on Saturday, our special guest will be Harvey Glantz. That's Kirani James's coach. We'll be talking to Harvey Glantz, a full 2 hours of Harvey Glantz on the program. And no doubt Harvey will be talking all about track and field, what has been taking place regarding, training, preparation, and he will be giving some insights into in the coach's mind, and things like that. So, and the athletes and advice, and a full 2 hours of Harvey Glantz from 1 o'clock on Saturday. Please join us. And I want to say thank you also to the folks at WPG10. That's Hamlet Mark and Company, WPG10. We also on WPG10. You can find the app on the Play Store, or even the App Store. Yeah, Play Store, App Store. So whether you're on Android or you on the iOS, Apple products, you can get the app WPG10, look for it, download it, and you click on it, and you can join us. Our program, no doubt, has moved to 8 o'clock on a Thursday. So feel free to join us on Thursdays at 8 o'clock, but we remain at 1 o'clock on Saturday. So coming up on Saturday from 1 o'clock will be Harvey Glantz, as we say properly, Coach Harvey Glantz, and we'll be speaking all about track and field. Thank you again, fans, for being part of our program, and the invitation is yours to join me again on Saturday from 1 o'clock for the Saturday Sports Special. Until then, do have a pleasant evening.